Welcome to the New Country, New Home programme, where we're telling the story of a refugee and his family. When Ahmed began his journey as a refugee, he had no idea what would happen in the future. Now, he's beginning life in a new home in Europe. Is it possible that this story about Ahmed and his family sounds like it might be part of your refugee story?
I haven't been a schoolboy for a long time now. Ever since I graduated from school, I've been in the workforce. But yesterday, I felt like a schoolboy again. About 2 weeks ago, I had an awful haircut because I couldn't communicate with the barber. On that day, I decided that I needed to learn this new language. So I called my cousin Aziz, who has lived here for a long time and teaches language lessons for refugees. And I asked to sign up for his next class. Interestingly enough, my children, Sadiq and Rama, also had their first day of school yesterday, so I felt like a child. Leaving for school with them, I didn't like this feeling, but I have a lot of motivation to learn. How can we make a life here without knowing the language? When I arrived, the classroom was completely full. Aziz began speaking with us. I had only heard him in our language and was surprised by how he sounded like Pastor Alex now. I hope that someday I can be the same way. Aziz asked every student to say their names and where they come from. Many classmates were from Somalia, but others were from Nigeria, Syria, Iran, and Cameroon. Even though we were only asked to share our names and country, people began to tell their stories. We were from very different countries, but many of us shared similar backgrounds. Some people left because of war and violence, others because of religion or ethnic persecution, but everyone had come to Europe to create a new, safe, and better life. When it came to my turn, I shared about the conflict and violence that I have seen. I talked about the future that I want for Rama and Sadiq. Many people nodded, and I could see that they understood. Aziz said that he also had suffered persecution back home 20 years ago, and that this is why he had to leave. I wondered why Aziz had been persecuted. Even though he is my family member, I don't know very much about him. When he left our country, there was no war going on, so why was he persecuted? I asked my parents about Aziz when I was a child, but they didn't want to tell me the reason. I wondered what the secret is. After class, I waited for everyone to leave and then come to ask him why he was forced to leave. He told me that he would tell me at some point, but that now was not the right time. All he said was there are many things that are wrong with the world, and we must seek to follow God and treat others with kindness and not with hate. He also said that I should read the book that he had given me, which will help me to understand. As we left the school together, Aziz commented that he had intended to teach about grammar in the class, but we had taken so long to talk about our life stories and that there wasn't any time for him to teach language lessons.
The story of Ahmed and his family is not finished. Tomorrow is another day with new challenges and new opportunities. Ahmed does not know what will happen, but God knows. God cares about what happens to Ahmed and his family. God also cares about what happens to you during this time as you look for a new home in a new country.